Well, well, it's clearly apparent to me that Calamity, one of the weird things is people keep bringing up is like, do you know what the difference is between Calamity and Infernum? No, I'm not sure actually. And I'm not even going to check now. I'll wait till we're done. Is Infernum, it's added onto Calamity. So did Infernum change all the Calamity bosses, or did Infernum change the base game bosses and Calamity added in its own bosses? I don't know. I suspect that it's Calamity and Infernum on top which changed everything, because my god, very clearly now the intention is that, hey, you go up to the end of the base game, which is the Moonlord, then it gets real. And it really gets real, like, in a quite dramatic way. I talked about the Empress of Light the other day. It took 70-something tries to kill the Empress of Light. Yeah, those are rookie numbers at this point. What I couldn't believe... I need to take you on a journey here. So, after the Moonlord died, a bunch of messages appeared in the chat. And it was like, hey... There's something rumbling in the dungeon. There's something that rumbles down below. There's something going on somewhere, right? Like, all this thing just started happening. So I was like, oh, okay, we've opened up a whole bunch of stuff. No, I had killed Dragon Folly, which was apparently a post-Moonlord boss, but was very easy. But all indications, I went on an explore. I was like, surely, because we've killed Moonlord, we have a whole bunch of stuff. And we kind of did. We had Luminite and more asteroids appeared in space. There was another message saying space is now something. And all these like asteroids had appeared. So you could farm the ore for the Moonlord without having to just re-kill the Moonlord. Which was great. Until I went to the dungeon and accidentally killed the lunatic cultist again. Meaning that the pillars are back in my world and therefore will spawn the Moonlord again. But I'm not bothering with that right now. I was like, whatever. I'm going down. I had to go to the dungeon. So I'm mooching around and sure enough, there's like new resources dropping. It's like necroplasms now dropping and blah, blah, blah. And I have a whole bunch of stuff I can craft. But what bosses are we doing next? I made a whole bunch of new stuff. It was very cool. Found some nice weapons. Found like a badass flamethrower. Found a badass minigun. All this kind of stuff. And a really good, I think it was called the Tainted Plagued SMG. I killed a plague boss. I'm not sure when I did that. But I got this like SMG. That was really cool. Had a bunch of new weapons like the Clockwork Bow. The Elemental Destroyer weapon. All this kind of stuff. So I had a whole bunch of new stuff. But where do we go? This is when I think this mod pack plays its cruelest trick. And it's cruel. It's really cruel. The only boss that I could actively do, as far as I understand, was called the Profaned Guardians. Now, I believe, because each boss drops like a little transcript, which I haven't been reading, that there's lore. There's like a story that's being told about Calamity and maybe even Infernum, and I don't know what it is. But now I understand why this is called the Profaned Guardians. They're guarding something. Now, I'd found this area very early in our playthrough. It's in the bottom right of Hell, and there's a temple with a door blocking, with like a crystal blocking a door. So I was intrigued by this, obviously. And now it seemed like this was the point. So I'd gone down there, and there's an altar in there. And sure enough, I managed to spawn the Profaned Guardians. 3 bosses. It's one boss, but there's 3 parties of it. It's a council fight. And wow. This is going to be the introduction to, so far, what has been the most frustrating, god-awful mechanic in this game. Bar none. This one mechanic, and I'm not joking, has probably turned what should have been maybe a 30-pull boss into 200 tries. I'm really not joking. Because when you break through and then you get to this mechanic, it can just immediately kill you. And at least for now, and I'm sure some pro will educate me at some point on this, it's kind of just screws you over. In the most malicious, it feels to me, that's all I'm going to say, it feels to me, who's somebody who's dealt with this mechanic a lot now, that it's a little unfair. What is the mechanic? It's just a laser beam. It's just a laser beam, which happens on many, many bosses. I've fought against tons of laser beams by this point. The difference is, I really have no idea how this thing is coded. I have no idea. There are some people claiming that it's pure RNG. There's a part validity to that sometimes, and I think it's based on how far away from the boss you are. But if you are not in this position, it will lock on to you. And what it does is it appears and then immediately adjusts itself to kill you. And I'm talking within probably a quarter second, something like that. Like, I almost practically unmanageably to like actively move, especially because in the game, accelerating upwards needs to gather momentum. You don't just go from 0 to 100 straight away. You have to build speed. So if you're dropping, so let's say your character is dropping down because you saw a laser spawn and you need to readjust up, that takes a little bit of time to change that momentum and move that way. I would actually say, and I'm sure I'm getting better at this, but this is something that comes with a lot of practice, is that micro adjustments are the biggest thing I'm not good at. Part of it is having big sausage fingers. Part of it is having a really good keyboard, honestly. This is something that was pointed out to me in a Discord message yesterday, is that I have the Corsair K100, which is extremely sensitive to key presses and pressure that you put down, which makes it a little more awkward to do very tiny movements sometimes, right? I mean, maybe that's a thing. I don't know. But probably due to sausage fingers and not really having in most games to do extremely precise, my pixel movements. I don't do that stuff. So this is a big learning curve for the old fingers to pick up. So anyway, this fight is really good. I like it. I like the Profaned Guardians, even though it took me I have killed it. It took 200 tries. Round about there. I think it was like 170 or maybe slightly over 200. It's around that amount. The only thing I didn't like was the opening Flappy Bird section. What an interesting choice. You don't actually even start the fight until you defeat this Flappy Bird section. I've never played Flappy Bird, but I'm aware of what it is. And the only issue I had here really was, again, micro movements. It was teaching me to do that. You had to be very precise. The hitboxes aren't exactly where the graphic is, so you had to go through dead center. And they're purely RNG. So sometimes you would be able to just sort of whiz through it and be there in a few seconds to the crystal that you have to kill to spawn the bosses. Other times you were just getting pushed back constantly. On occasion, it felt like it was really 2 steps forward and sometimes 3 steps back because you just had to wait and for this shooty lasers to go past. But again, a good lesson. I didn't like it, but it was teaching me how to do stuff, which is going to be valuable later on. And then we get into the fight, which is a little awkward in terms of who are you killing, because they're very similar and they move very rapidly. And only one of them is actually able to be DPS'd at a time. You don't get a choice, which I think might have been a more interesting element, but I believe, if I was to think about it more, they didn't want you being able to cleave these down, which you could potentially do. So you can only DPS one at a time. So there's a learning curve of like which one is actually the target at this point in time, because all 3 of them are very bunched up. It's a very claustrophobic fight. You cannot build anything in the arena. You have to deal with what they give you. And then they go into their routine, which is learnable. I like that. It's learnable. Hard, extremely hard, but learnable. You can figure out what you want to do. But then it comes down to the latter part of the fight where you're one-on-one with the finale, which has some very brutal attacks, including the lock-on laser, which I swear to God, for the first time I met it, I was like, that is weird, because it's extraordinarily fast, and it really knows exactly where you're going to be. It's weird. You know when you fight, if any of you have ever played a fighting game, where you turn the difficulty to, like, its absolute maximum, something I did a lot as a kid when I was very big into Mortal Kombat and stuff, is you just feel like the computer, because it does, the computer reads the inputs of you and counters it, and it just knows what you're doing. So it will immediately like cheat essentially, and just be like, oh, you're about to press this. I can feel the input's been received by the computer and it will block you. And so with the laser, it felt like that. It was like, oh, it's spawned here, so I'm going to move here, and then it'll just adjust to where you're going and kill you. Sometimes it will block you in. So you need to stay perfectly still, which is extraordinarily hard because you already usually have some sort of momentum going one way. Either way, it killed me, and it does ludicrous damage. Ludicrous damage. It was a war, but it resulted in a sweet kill. I was very happy to bring this thing down. I was so happy, and I was like, never again. Never again am I doing that fight. But how happy I was. because the boss is dead. And surely that means massive upgrades. Cool shit to make my character so good. Doesn't even drop loot. I couldn't believe it. I mean, this is where the cruelty comes in. It doesn't even drop. I mean, it has a couple of items, but nothing. Just no new gun, no new bullets, no new armor, no new ore, nothing. Nothing. Just that's it. You killed it. Great. Message appears. The crystal has been shattered. It's a gate boss. It's literally a door boss. Literally a door boss that leads to another boss. And the interesting thing is, there are no other bosses to kill. As far as I'm aware, there's just this. This is like the, I guess you could argue the barrier to entry to what is to come later. Like if you before you go any further, you need to be able to do these things or you've no chance later. It's how I'm receiving it because I don't know what comes later. I know we're down to the last few bosses. There's not many left. But I have no doubts, based on what I've seen so far, these last few bosses are going to be probably 3/4 of the playthrough. Which is fine, because I'm still enjoying myself. The message did come through, is like, have you got Terraria fatigue? I'm like, no, physically, I'm tired. Very physically tired fighting these. But either way, yeah, I got nothing from it, and it was like, just keep going forward. Because it opened up, and the door fell, the crystal shattered, and the doorway was open. And within there is another temple, where you have another altar to fight a boss called Providence. This has been a really interesting. I think we're just over 100 pulls on this. This fight is not that hard. It has an enormous amount of HP. I think it has nearly double the HP of anything we've ever fought in the game so far. It has like 1 million HP. And I learned pretty good. I learned the fight reasonably well. Like, I figured out how to counter nearly everything. Not perfectly. I still took a lot of damage along the way, but for the most part, I was getting through the mechanics and getting late into the fight. I had a very, very long, like 6-7 minute pull, where I kind of feel like I saw everything. And very similar to Final Fantasy XIV, is at a certain point, the boss is just going to repeat mechanics because you're done. You just need to kill it now. And I got through there. My horror, as you get very deep into this fight, you go through Phase 1, then you go through Phase 2, then you have a Phase 3, and then you get to Phase 4, and then you have Phase 5, and then there's a Phase 6 that comes after this, I would argue, where it submerges the whole room in lava and shoots you. However, in Phase 5, my face when the laser returned. It's back. This one mechanic has... I think we would have killed this within 30 pulls. Legitimately. I think I got down to the laser pretty quickly. And we're now at 100. Not to say that every, the 70 consecutive pulls have gotten to the laser. In fact, we've done a lot of adjustments since then. Because I learned the fight pretty well. I could get through most of it. I had like 3 adrenalines at one point. Which is a big damage bonus if you don't take damage for a longer time. So I decided to do, because it's got so much health, I decided, like, you know what? This is a good fight for me to actually see what the difference is between reforging all our gear from defense, which has served us very well, into all damage. Because this is a very long fight. And the reason I did this is it was very noticeable that it has a bunch of micro phases where the boss becomes immune and then does a different mechanic and then it's immune again. Is the more damage you do during that, the quicker it just stops doing that phase and goes into its frozen form. So it made logical sense. I assume this is clearly designed to make sure you have to go through every step along the way. Is the more damage we do, just generally the less chance of getting hit we have, for the most part. And it'll go through. So I did that. It was really cool, actually. I think it gave us like 1.5 to 1.6 times damage. We even started skipping like 3 or 4 micro phases compared to what I was doing. Although now if you take any damage, you lose like, a third of your health every hit, which is brutal. But it made the fight harder in one way, but easier at the back end, where we could actually finish it off, because the boss, I think, should have died a long time ago. And we got to the laser phase over and over and over again. I'm talking immediately transitioning to the laser phase, it just shooting you in the face. To the fact that there's new artwork in my base. People have started calling me the Moth, because I can't resist the lure of the light of the laser. That is now my nickname, is the Moth. And I'm pleading with people. It's like, guys, you've no idea what this laser is like. It goes everywhere. It's almost like it's in your brain. It knows exactly where you're going to be, and it shoots you. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I've seen the whole fight. I've seen it to the end, and it was bothering me so much. I was like, I need to see how other people are dealing with this. So I was like, I'm going to see like a hitless run of this. And the reason I'm telling you this is not because I'm like Mr. Honesty or anything like that. It's to let you know that what I found, I watched like 3 of these. They're hitless runs, which took people over 1,000 attempts, by the way. Literally over 1,000 attempts to do this, even though every other mechanic is kind of easily avoidable. The laser, every video when it gets to the laser portion just has what I have seen a couple of times where the laser just doesn't go near you at all. It leaves the largest pizza slice gap where you just hang out and chill, and it just doesn't bother you in every single one. And I was like, well, I've seen how you do it hitless. You just don't deal with the laser on that pull. That's what I found. That's what I found. I don't know what magic and wizardry is going on here, but I think it's like, it took us 1,000 pulls because 700 or 800 of them just had the laser shoot me in the face the second I got to that phase. That's what I'm taking from it anyway. We haven't killed this yet. But my suspicion is, given that we're doing 2 really hard bosses with no rewards, practically, that whatever awaits us on the other side has got to be glorious, right? One thing that will make me sad is if we get through this and it's like, nope, there's no really any more upgrades. I know there's some because I've seen them in the crafting recipes menu, but it's very little from here on in. You just got to persevere. I don't know. But as soon as this is done, we're going to be choosing a new main for WoW for midnight. So that's going to be a kind of relaxing decompress for a while. But I'll get back to you. Hopefully this thing dies very quickly. Fresh. I slept. We're good. We'll see what's next. Bye, guys.